Do you live ECU? Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in to Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, February 17th. It's game day once again for ECU baseball. They're at Campbell tonight, 5 o'clock first pitch. You can hear the coverage on 94.3 The Game. We'll talk about what to look for, what we're hoping to see tonight outside of an ECU win at Campbell. We'll break that down. Exciting show ahead because along with that, we'll continue with a football-specific segment as we continue on our roster rundown, better, worse, even. We'll do the outside linebackers today, a smaller position group, but still a notable one to bring up. So we'll do that. We also, I feel like we discussed it Friday, but it's worthy of more conversation. The contract situations now, the extension with AD John Gilbert, the revised deal with head coach Blake Harrell, and it was on opening day. We discussed it, but I feel like we need to dive deeper. I've got a little bit more information, and I want to kind of discuss what these deals mean for the athletic department, for both the football program, the university, et cetera. So we'll do that. Also, we'll do that segment one, probably a longer segment here. So if you do have a comment, question you want us to get to, feel free to drop it in the chat. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and segment one. Because once we get past it, we're probably not rolling back to it for a while, maybe until we reach later into the deader months of the summer. But for now, we're going to dive deeper into it. We got Philip Hilkinen back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, how you doing on this Tuesday?
I'm good, Steven. It's a game day. It's been 2 days since the Pirates have been on the field, so ready to build off that second win, or that win in that second game, and should be a good one tonight. It always is against Campbell. Haven't won there since 2022, so time to right some wrongs.
No doubt. Pirates are due for some good luck in Bowie's Creek. Weird place, Bowie's Creek. We'll discuss and dive into that later. And talk. But that's the best thing about baseball is once the games begin, it feels like they never end because there's so many of them. All right, these contracts, again, we touched on it a little bit Friday. I've got a little bit more information. The news had just broken when we took the air Friday with Bobby Harward, Jonathan Wagner. And, look, you've got the two biggest faces realistically of your athletic program getting new deals. This is big news. And we'll start with the AD specifically. John Gilbert getting the 3-year extension through the year 2029. Kind of hit this from the standpoint of what it means for the athletic department. John Gilbert, if he ends up playing out this contract, will have been at ECU well over a decade, which is really stability you don't see a whole lot in college athletics these days. I mean, there are certainly cases of long-tenured ADs, and John Gilbert is going to be one at East Carolina for sure. This is his second extension. This will be his third contract, technically speaking, at ECU. Had a 5-year deal, got extended, and now getting extended again. So this runs through 2029. Again, he had his deal set to expire at the end of this year. And so you really had to make a decision one way or the other. You know, is John going to move on? Does ECU want John back? Obviously, the mutual decision was to make it a 3-year extension, sign him through 2029. This will go into effect at the end of the year. He also is getting a financial raise from $500,000 to $625,000 annually. Now, I do want to mention he took a pay cut during COVID, and I don't know if he ever got it back or not. I don't know the exact particulars of it, but he did take a pay cut during COVID. Was at a $500,000 rate. Now is back, bumped up a little bit to $625,000. I think it's a fair deal. You look at ADs across the American, across ECU's level, so to speak, and it's a fair deal. But the stability standpoint of it is you make this move because, let's say, whether it's this year or next year, you have to make a change with the basketball program. We know from running a show that goes out to ECU fans, there's discontent right now with the way the program's performing. We've discussed that a lot. We'll see how the season plays out. You got to have stability with your athletic department and your administration to hire a new coach. Let's say Blake Harrell wins big this year and takes another job. You've got to have an AD who has a set contract to hire a new coach. He would still have 3 years left at that point at the end of the season, going into, obviously, 2027. So stability is big, and it's kind of an easy word to use here, Philip. But like John Gilbert has set records in many ways for fundraising through the Pirate Club. With at least his team has, with him in charge. Football is winning, baseball is winning. We've discussed basketball a lot, and I just think, given the ever-changing landscape, you couldn't just let this ride. Some people threw out a 1-year extension. Let's see what happens. Let's see if he can fix basketball in a 1-year extension. You just can't do that, man. You have to have stability in place, or else nobody's going to come take the job if it comes down to it.
Yeah, 100%. And, right now, he's your athletic director. I think if you get into August without an extension, he becomes your lame duck athletic director. It's one of those things where it's clearly showing that he is on his way out one way or another. And then if a big decision does have to be made, head coach of one of your major 2 programs, how do you have a lame duck athletic director make that decision? This was the perfect timing for this extension. He wasn't what I consider in that lame duck spot yet, because he was still a semester plus, on his deal. But this gives you that stability. And, right now, look, I know some people are saying 1 year. 1 year doesn't show a lot of faith. And 1 year is something you do to coaches and players at the pro level, because it's like, hey, you know what? You're coming off an injury. You're coming off this or that. Let's see what you can do in 1 year. An athletic director's not in that position. They're not based really year to year as much as they're based on a whole overall body of work. You can't say, we're going to give him 1 year, and if he doesn't make a splash basketball hire over the summer, then, we let that year run out. I mean, first off, there's a lot more to, yes, you want to be competitive in basketball, but he's done a lot of great. He's done nothing to be, I think, on the hot seat, in my opinion. And then on top of that, this team, we've had a basketball team since the mid-'60s, and it's never been good. So we're going to make a whole man's career ride on whether or not he fixes a 60-year problem in 1 year. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those things. Like and I get it. I'm glad. I want to say this. I'm glad that there's frustration with the basketball program, because for too long it's been ignored. Like, there has to be accountability for it. And that's something next time we get John on, we'll talk about all the things that are going well. But, like, I know he takes pride in the basketball program as well. Like, he believes they can win here. This, even with and look, I'm very glad the team has won the last 3 road games. They're doing well. They're still 269 in the net. They're still one of the worst teams in the country, statistically, metrically speaking. And, we'll see what happens down the stretch. So, I'm glad they're doing well. It's still been a very bad season by the metrics and by the record, all that. So, like, there has to be some accountability for basketball. I agree with that. But I think, you look at every athletic program across the country, very few are just crushing it in all the main sports. I mean, heck, you look across the American, what program is dominating football, basketball, baseball? I mean, like, I can't think of it. I mean, Memphis at a time, basketball and football, but look at their basketball program this year. So it's not as easy maybe as it seems. And, like, I get that that's the goal, but it's tough, man. It's everybody's trying to win.
Yeah. I mean, and then even look at a school down the street like Carolina, like baseball, national championship contender. Basketball, if Wilson's able to come back, you feel like they're a backdoor contender. Football won 4 games. Like, it's hard to have the trifecta at one time. And usually if you do, it's short-lived. I mean, who has really been good at all 3 at the same time for even a 5-year period? Ever. At any point. Since the beginning of the 3 major sports. So, I mean, I'm sure there's examples, but they're very few and far between.
Yeah, probably Tulane's the closest, but even then they had to make a miracle run through the conference baseball tournament to make the postseason. Their basketball, while better under Ron Hunter, has not been at the top of the league. They have not won the tournament. They have not made the big dance. So them or Memphis, but Memphis has always been bad in baseball, which, at the end of the day, men's basketball, football are your revenue sports. They've probably been the most consistent, but at the same time, they're down. They finished below ECU in football this year, and they're They're middle of the pack in the American and men's basketball right now. Kenny Curlin says this is the coach he brought in. I assume he's mentioning Mike Schwartz. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, John Gilbert hired Mike Schwartz. I'll be the first to say it wasn't really a full-on coaching search. Like, Mike Schwartz was the guy the whole time. He was the one they interviewed. He was the one they hired. And so, like, I do think there needs to be accountability for that if Mike Schwartz doesn't turn it around. And I think John Gilbert will be the first to step up and say, hey, we missed it. You know, we liked the hire at the time for these reasons. It didn't work out. Same thing with Mike Houston in some regards. Who disapproved of the Mike Houston hire at the time? Not many. Who disapproved of the Mike Houston extension at the time? Not many. So, like, sometimes the process can be okay or the hire can be good and it just not work out. So that doesn't mean, you know, that he shouldn't make another hire or be involved in another hiring process. So I agree certainly with what you're saying, Kenny, and there has to be accountability for everybody involved with basketball because right now it's not good enough. They're still on the outside looking in for the conference tournament, given the investment made now in basketball from the donors. So there's some thoughts on the AD extension. We can circle back if any other comments are to be made. All right, Blake Harrell, the football coach, got a new deal, and not really an extension because he kind of got a one-year extension himself with the original contract. So if he made a bowl game, obviously East Carolina had it written into his initial deal that he would get an automatic rollover year. That happened, of course. He made the Military Bowl. He beat Pittsburgh in the Military Bowl. So the notes here, we got a few more financial numbers after the weekend. As we said before, his annual compensation went from $1.3 million to $1.5 million. Now, the compensation is made up of base salary and then supplemental pay, which comes from, Pirate Club dollars and Playfly, ECU's media rights holder, their contract. They pay a big portion of it. So his base salary went from $700,000 to $875,000, $175,000 raise, and then the other $25,000 annual raise came from his supplemental pay. So his base salary is now at $875,000, total salary at $1.5 million. Just for reference sake, and this is for the same thing as the basketball coach, your annual base salary is what would have to get bought out if you were to, let's say, fire a coach with the way the contracts are written at East Carolina. So if ECU, let's say the Blake Harrell thing falls apart just from a business perspective, they'd be on the hook for $875,000 annually with what's left on his deal at that point. All right, so if he goes to a bowl game, that stipulation is written into his new deal as well. In 26, 27, or 28, he gets an automatic rollover deal. And what I said on Friday was automatic increase in his base salary if he wins 7, 8, or 9 games. So, Philip, if he wins 7 games next year, he gets a $50,000 increase. If he wins 8, he gets another $50,000 increase. And if he wins 9, he would get another $50,000 increase for base pay. So I am, this kind of pays for itself if you were to do it. I think it's a cool deal. It's one of those things where, like, we always talk about if you're going to make these decisions to restructure a contract, to extend somebody, you want to make it, like, fiscally responsible. In this case, it's pretty much paying for itself. If you have that amount of success in the season at ECU, you're going to have more people in the stands. You're going to have more interest in the program, more dollars, et cetera. So they're not just handing out money here. This is well-earned, hard-earned money for Blake Harrell, and I feel like this is a well-written deal for both sides.
I think so. It holds Coach Harrell accountable to win games, which I have no reason to think that he won't. And it still kind of keeps you in one of those spots where you're not on the hook for an extensive amount of money. And look, you still have a bargain situation here. And the reason you have a bargain situation is because college athletics landscape is changing. And I think the base salary of coaches is going down because you have to pay the players more. And Coach Harrell realizes that. Coach Harrell understands that he is not getting paid what he would have gotten paid 10 or 15 years ago had he been in the same situation. And I think the incentives then help because then it brings, like you said, it pays for itself. It's going to be a more attractive destination. You're going to get more donor money. You're going to get more TV money possibly, if you get into bowl games and things like that, that can then go to the players, that can then roll over and give you more wins in even in the future the following year. And then this could be a domino effect. But, we talk about a domino effect. We mean this in a bad way. They're setting this up to be a domino effect in a good way, that the more money, the more games he wins, the more money he makes, but the more money the program makes in return. And this is a way to portray the program. This was a very well-written deal.
All right, and somebody in the chat saying, what was Mike Houston making? To kind of give you an idea of how much salaries have changed, at least for ECU. Mike Houston was making $2.4 million per year when he got extended. So Blake, and that was total. Blake is now making 1.5, so basically $1 million less. And probably that $1 million difference. Well, first off, you're still paying off Mike Houston. We can get to that in a minute. But that that $900,000, that $1 million difference will go into paying the players, as Philip said. And I've even talked with Blake about this, and I doubt he cares that I share it. But he's like, man, obviously, I'm happy to get the deal. I love ECU, but at the end of the day, I just want my staff to be paid, and I just want us to be able to pay players to get good talent. Because he's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much I'm making. Obviously, for his family, he wants it, but he knows he's got to have money to pay his players. So it's just a different era, and ECU is still on the hook for $1.4 million. This is the last year, 2026, of the Mike Houston contract, by the way. But that can be offset if he gets other employment. I don't even know I guess he's still a volunteer assistant at Clemson, but it would be helpful for ECU if he got another job that paid him. Not that I blame him. Look, if somebody was paying me $1.4 million, I think I'd chill and do a volunteer job as well. But yeah, that's a lot of money to be paying a coach for a second year. I think we all kind of assumed he would get a different job by now.
Yeah, I think we would. And I think it might have been the perfect storm in a bad way, right? You go to Clemson, you're an assistant, you're at a good program. Yeah, maybe it's not what it used to be, but they look back on the come up this year. So right now there's not a lot of pressure on him too. He's still doing what he loves. He's getting paid $1.4 million. The cost of living in South Carolina is not extremely high. And on top of that, when you lose a game, nobody's writing stuff about you. Nobody's saying stuff about you. Nobody's giving crap to your kids at school or your wife when she goes out to the store like you are when you're the head coach or you're a coordinator. And I'm sure he went through a lot of tough times here in East Carolina in Greenville between that 2-10 season and that rough start. I think sometimes it's just human nature. You got to take a step back and relax. So if, not saying his job's not stressful, it's still tough to do what he does. There's a reason not everybody can do it. But when you're an analyst, it's a lot different of a world than actually having your name, pop up first in the program when people open it. I mean, we still have programs, but that's an argument for another day.
Yeah, who still buys the programs? But it's a cool souvenir if nothing else. Especially all filled with ads now, but that's another story.
I know. Dude, the Panthers used to give you a free one every game.
Yeah.
It was nice. Where did the dude go to college? You open it up and you look. They also used to give you tickets. So you had a souvenir forever, and now it's all on your phone.
Very boring. Our entire life is on our phone now, which is good and bad. All right, so John Moody wants to know, does the bowl game rollover still go into the new contract? Yes, John. That is, again, 26, 27, 28. If he makes a bowl game in any one of those years, automatic rollover. And obviously, if he gets 7, 8, 9 plus wins, he gets the financial compensation on top of that. Something that did interest me, the buyout, if he gets other employment, did actually go down a tick. It was set at $2.1 million for the first year. Now it's at $1.8 million for the first year. Also drops to $1.3 million for the second year. Although if he gets the bowl rollover now, it is set up to, let's say, he wins he gets that extra rollover year for this coming season. ECU goes to a bowl in 2026, trying to make it as easy as possible for people to understand. He gets the rollover year, so then next year's buyout would be $1.8 million as well. So the buyout basically will revert back to the previous year. I don't know if that was written into the previous deal, so that's a change.
Well, and then too, he's not getting bought out if he doesn't make a bowl game. Nobody's going to come poach him if he goes 5-7. So
exactly. The other thing I was going to mention, I know we got to get a break in, but this is a good discussion. I think ECU's left enough wiggle room here. Bumping him to 1.3 to 1.5 is is very good. I'm happy for Blake, but like still nowhere near the top of the American. And so if he goes out and look, if he wins 9-10 games, he's going to be a hot commodity. It's going to be tough to keep him. But you could theoretically still have some wiggle room to go, hey, well, let's run it back one more year. We got whoever coming back. Let's do this thing. You could probably pay him a little north of $2 million. Now, is that worth it? Like, I mean, these coaches in the ACC are making like $6 to $7, $8 million a year. It's kind of crazy, but you could at least bump his salary up even more. Theoretically, it's just I wonder how high ECU can go in this era of college football.
And that's the tough thing, you know. So he's 1.5 right now. Let's just say it's 6 in the ACC. That's 4 times the money.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I think that Coach Harrell loves this place, and I think even if he looked back on his life when he's in his upper 60s and said, man, I was the coach at East Carolina for 20 some odd years, I think he would be okay with that. But then also, when somebody knocks on your door and says, I'm going to offer you 4 times what you're making, it's hard to turn that down. Like, you can't blame him if he does bounce. Like, as much as I think, like I said, he would be okay with that, still, I mean, think about what you're doing for your family, setting them up for their futures, Then if one of your children want to go be an entrepreneur, you can, hey, give them more of a financial start if you're making 6 as opposed to 1.5. I mean, there's just you're setting your kids up better, setting your grandkids up better. So, like, if it happens, I mean, I get it, I guess is my point. It sucks, but, I mean, good for him if it happens.
Just for an example, Pat Narduzzi, who he beat in the bowl game, $7.26 million salary in 2025.
So it's
for
5
mediocre
times
results in the ACC. So, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but just a discussion. And that's not even talking, SEC, Big Ten coaching pay. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll talk some more football after this. We'll dive into the outside linebacker position. Not the biggest position room, but an important one. Better, worse, even compared to last year. We'll get into that discussion after this.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors segment 2 here. Philip Pilkington alongside back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We'll get to some ECU baseball talk in segment 3. Now let's continue on with some football. We've been doing our better, worse, even segments, breaking down each ECU position room on the roster. We're now going to get the outside linebackers, which is probably one of the smallest position rooms. We may do the nickel room separate from the safeties. I still have to decide that. But the outside linebackers basically is called the rush position. So ECU, for those who aren't as familiar, they line up with 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. 3 of those guys are down linemen, a defensive end, and typically 2 interior guys, although they can be a little versatile. And then you've got the stand-up outside linebacker who's called the rush. This position room is coached by Rico Zachary, who is back for another year with ECU on the defensive staff. So what we've been doing is comparing better, worse, even. It's essentially how last season ended. Is the room as it stands today better, worse, or even compared to that point last year? So this is a room with maybe as little turnovers as any. You have 1 departure. And it is a big one. Raheem Craig, who has started the last 26 games at outside linebacker, has departed. I'll run through the stats here. 13 starts a season ago, so he's been a part of a lot of wins. 26 starts over the past 2 years. 464 defensive snaps in 2025. 40 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, 15 quarterback pressures. 59.4 PFF grade. He was a solid run defender, a little below average in coverage, and a above average pass rusher per his metrics on PFF. Again, this position, I didn't mention, you have to be able to do everything. You got to be able to set the edge, get after the passer, and drop into coverage. All right, notable returners, Julian Davis, 13 games played last year as a redshirt sophomore, 318 snaps, 23 tackles, 2 TFLs, 1.5 sacks, 1 pass defended, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 11 quarterback pressures, 73.2 PFF grade. Again, they grade on a scale of 0 to 100, 60 above average. Anything in the 70s is really good. 69.4 run defense grade, 58.9 pass rush, 81.1 coverage. So they have him better as a run defender and in coverage as opposed to pass rushing, which makes sense because he's formerly an inside linebacker who moved outside last year. You also have Kendrick DeJour back. I think the biggest wild card in the room. We'll get into that discussion. 6 games last year, only 82 snaps, 11 tackles, 5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks, 1 pass defended, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 8 quarterback pressures in just 82 snaps. He played, I think, 7 snaps in the bowl game and had 5 pressures, which shows you kind of his pass rush ability. 82.9 PFF grade, 77.5 run defense grade, 89.3 pass rush grade, which is elite, 69.4 coverage grade. And you also bring back Dylan Worthen, 2 games, 12 snaps, 1 tackle. He redshirted 66.7 PFF grade. No incoming transfers here because you got 3 returners. They did sign 2 high school signees, 3-star Taronde Spencer out of Richmond High School in North Carolina. I may be butchering his name. And then 3-star Zion Rachford out of Gaffney in South Carolina. So 5 scholarship players in the room. They also have a walk-on back as well. When you hear this group, Philip, your initial takeaways?
Well, as we sit here on February the 17th, the answer would be the same or slightly worse just because Raheem left, right? But I think once all these guys have had another year of camp, have gone back, have learned everything, a lot of those guys, it was their first year seeing, significant playing time. And you learn a lot from year 1 to year 2. And I think they're going to learn a lot. And I think come August the whatever, September, I don't know what the hell the first date is. The time we get on the bus to Tuscaloosa, the plane to Tuscaloosa, I would say better, just solely because your best players will have more experience and in a whole nother off season than they had at the end of last year. So yeah, I mean on February 17th, yeah, it's I guess it's the same, but Raheem was a leader and that will have to be replaced, obviously. But as you mentioned there, was he a solid player? Sure. Is he, some guy, that you could never replace? No. So, I think this room's going to continue to get better.
I agree with your take. I think stability-wise, like just not having Raheem there is a blow because you just knew what you were going to get every Saturday. Yeah. He was going to give you 40, 45 snaps of dependable play, and now that's gone. Now, I think Julian Davis, again, he's just a kind of a bull rusher off the edge. Like, just not the most explosive guy in the world, but just physical as crap, is going to do his job. He's going to be really good, and I have very high faith in that. So I know you can count on him. He'll see an increase in snaps. The wild card for me is Kendrick DeJour. If the same guy that showed up in the Military Bowl shows up every Saturday for ECU, this position will undoubtedly be better. Because like Raheem was a above average pass rusher, but he was not a guy who could change games. We saw in the Military Bowl, Kendrick DeJour changed that game with that strip sack on the first possession of the second half. He just whipped either the tight end or left tackle. I can't remember who it was. But, I mean, you're talking about 7, 8, 9 snaps in a game with 5 pressures, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Like, ECU hasn't had a dude who could do that in a long time. And Kendrick showed flashes of it early in the season. Yeah, there were some off-the-field things that happened, inconsistent habits that led to, him not really playing after the Tulane game until the bowl. And then we saw what he could do in the bowl. So, like, for me, it's, all right, he's had a year in the system now. His second year under Rico Zachary. Now does it click? Because if it clicks, I think you have your kind of all-around guy in Julian Davis, and you got Kendrick DeJour you just put out there in pass rushing situations. And I love that. But if he doesn't pan out, if we go through some of the same issues as last year, then I think the position room looks a lot weaker, potentially.
I think he's learned from his mistakes. Look, this dude's a freak athlete. We saw it earlier in the year. You said he didn't play the second half of the year. We saw it the first half of the year, man. And, maybe the competition wasn't extremely good in some of the games he played very well in. Campbell game, he looked great, for example. But sometimes it's, hey, this guy's better because he's bigger, faster, stronger, and he's an FBS as opposed to FCS. And some guys you can just tell they're freak athletes. I think he's a freak athlete. And, yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm going better. I'm optimistically going Kendrick DeJour is one of the faces of this defense, and this room is better.
Other names, and I agree. If he is all in, I'm going better as well. I think it's even to better for sure. Dylan Worthen is a name to watch. He probably could have played last year. This guy is built. He played at IMG Academy, which is one of the top prep programs in the country. 6'2", 243. He's kind of built more similar to Julian Davis, but he'll be able to make an impact this year as a third stringer or a potential second stringer. And then the 2 freshmen, Spencer is probably more ready to play today, 6'3", 235. He is, basically rock solid muscle as well. Rachford is probably more of a project player. He kind of he's like a smaller Sam Danke. Played linebacker, edge, a little bit of everything in high school at Gaffney. Probably needs to develop. But I think if you needed to, Spencer could play at outside linebacker, and you got some other guys who have played in the past, like Jackson Barker, who we'll talk about in our inside linebacker preview next. He can play rush. He has played in the past. So you got some guys with position flexibility. But I think we're going, yeah. I mean, if we make a joint decision on this, even as of today, but maybe slightly better, which, I mean, for losing a guy with 26 consecutive starts is a pretty – I think that says a lot.
I mean, I'm good for us to jointly say even. I'm good with that. But like I said, my optimism of this room, we've said that about a lot of rooms, right? But I think, like, it's like, hey, man, this transfer, I'm optimistic about this guy. Like, this one's like, we've got guys who've proven it. They just maybe haven't played as many snaps. If they can play to the ability we've already seen and just do it throughout the entire year, it'll be good.
We've seen it in an ECU uniform,
Exactly.
which is different from other positions. All right, let's get a break in. Good discussion on the outside linebackers, which is one of the smaller rooms, but a key room for sure for ECU's defense. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. Pirate baseball is back in action tonight. We said it earlier. Once the games begin, it doesn't slow down. It's like, that's the beauty about baseball. There's always action going on, and that's what makes it fun for those that love baseball. We'll get a discussion in on that, what we want to see tonight at Campbell, and more on the way on Hoist the Colors.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
It's the Johnny Roger.
Now back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back in Hoist the Colors segment 3 here on a Tuesday. And we have talked a lot of ECU football. We talked about the contract situations, the latest deals with Blake Harrell and John Gilbert. If you missed any of that, check it out. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, archived on Facebook and X as well, under the Hoist the Colors 94.3 The Game channel, so check it out, and you can check out the full conversation there if you missed any of it. All right, baseball talk now. Pirates are back in action tonight at Campbell. First road game. Of course, it's in Buies Creek. It's always in Buies Creek. First midweek game. I said on the Bucks on the Pond podcast last night, I'm tired of this game. I want ECU to stop playing it, but the Pirates are still playing it, Phillip, and I don't know. ECU has not beaten Campbell, I know, at least on the road since 2025. I don't know about overall, but it feels like every time the reason I want to cancel this series, and this is no disrespect to Campbell, the late season game never gets played, either due to RPI or weather. So it's like it ends up just being a one-off road game every year. So make them come to Greenville on the first Tuesday of February during the season. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we should just flip-flop who gets the early home game, or maybe just play it one game, like you said. Tough thing, man. It's so tough to schedule midweek. So I don't have a problem with this, really scheduling them twice. That was one year they scheduled them 3 times. They had a 3-game series. It just wasn't a series. It was neutral about late March, and then a home game in May there at the end. So, yeah, maybe we just flip-flop who gets the early home game. But, look, it is what it is. We're on the road. Buies Creek, ESPN Bulgaria, and because they're in a Janko conference, or I shouldn't say they're a Janko conference. Their conference has a Janko TV deal, is what I should say.
It does.
And hey, man, you know what? Braden Tulloch on the mound tonight. First appearance in a Pirate uniform. Nick Parham getting the start at short. Can he prove to be? Look, Nick Parham, I got a request, baby. Give me 1 for 4 at the dish. If you can hit 250 to 280 on the year, keep playing the defense you're playing. Congratulations. Look, ECU hadn't had a great shortstop since Turner Brown. It's just been serviceable. Guys like Shaq. I'm trying to think who was in between Barini and Turner Brown. There had to be somebody in there. But, hey, man, let's see some good defense from the left side of the infield. Let's see a great open by Brett Antolik. And, I think both those things happen. We'll feel pretty good. Deep pitching staff, man. I don't think this is going to be we run a guy out there against Campbell. He looks like dog water, and we don't see him again till Campbell next year. And that has happened before in the past. I don't think that happens this time. We got a deep staff. I'm actually kind of excited for this game. More excited than I normally am for this game, Steven.
Will you be purchasing Flow Sports, or I guess WITN 7-2 is carrying it?
Yeah, well, I'll be in the studio, so it's so hard to watch games on a delay when you're hearing them in one. So for the first part of it, I'll be watching the very end of the Latvia and whoever they're playing game, because the winner of that, takes on U.S. and hockey
Sweden
tomorrow. Yeah, so Sweden, yeah, thank you. So, yeah, man, I'll do that. I'll be constantly talking to Dylan and Coach O and have stat broadcast pulled up, so.
A note on the defense, which you mentioned, this is another reason why I don't want to play at Campbell. And maybe I'm admittedly salty because ECU loses this game every year, or they get somebody hurt. But the reason I don't really like playing it is because Jim Perry Stadium features a full synthetic turf playing service installed by Progress Turf. Like to me, like having a full-on turf, infield turf. Like if you want to turf the baselines like ECU did, even I still kind of is an eyesore to me. But we'll save that conversation for another day. Turfing everything, mound. Baseball in North Carolina is not meant to be played on freaking turf. Like, come on, man. So what I'm trying to say is Nick Parham obviously has to play well. Everybody's got to play well in the infield because they're not used to playing baseball on turf. Now, a lot of teams in the American, for other reasons, have turf, but that is something to watch tonight. Sliding on the base pass, sliding on freaking turf. We got to deal with that. We've seen Joanie get hurt on it. We've seen Spencer Brickhouse get nicked up on this field. So I'm praying for an injury-free, good defensive game. If they come out of this game with 1 or less errors, I'll be happy.
You know where turf should be installed at? You know when you go to like Dick's Sporting Goods and they got a putting green where you can practice with your putter? That is okay to have a turf fake putting green. Other than that, ban turf. Football ain't supposed to be played on turf. Baseball isn't supposed to be played on turf. It's not supposed to be played indoors. Like, these are outdoor sports. What are we doing, man? And every time it's soccer. I don't really care that much about soccer, but you hear guys getting hurt. Messi was at one time refusing to play on turf. And, any owner, David Tepper, who put turf on their field should be fined $100 million every time somebody gets injured because of turf, so that David Tepper becomes broke and has to sell the Panthers.
Always got to tie it back into David Tepper losing his job. Some comments tonight, or some comments on the board. Brian Wallace says W tonight and holding his hands up in prayer. Yeah, ECU needs it. Charles says ECU needs to have better plate approach, go base to base. He wants to see them work the count, put the ball in play. That really wasn't a problem. It was just hitting with runners in scoring position over the weekend. They put the ball in play plenty. They didn't strike out. And John Moody adding, at least it's not 39 and misty tonight. Yeah, it looks like it'll be solid weather.
Yeah, the temperature's going up as the day goes on. So
yeah, so it should be pretty good weather. Lane Smith, I meant to bring this up. Appreciate Lane doing it. Don't they do watch-alongs at tiebreakers now? So I was listening to Mike Mullis on the Patrick Johnson show last night. So for everybody who cannot get Flow or WIT in 7-2, and this is not only for the Campbell game. They're going to do this for several road games this year, it sounds like. They're going to have, I can't remember the official name, Inside the Dugout with Mullis at tiebreakers.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be like a live watch-along. They'll have a stream of the game tonight. They're also doing this for the Sunday UNC game. We'll try to get Mully on later in the week. But basically, if you don't have a place to watch the game and you don't want to pay for Flow Sports, go to tiebreakers. Mully and I think PJ will be on the mic tonight, and we'll be answering questions. Not really commentating the game, but providing analysis is my understanding.
It'll kind of be a little bit like the Manning cast, right? It'll be a lot of color commentary, no play-by-play, but also there is going to be a chance to win prizes, and then there will also be things that will be auctioned off that you can bid on, and all the money that the proceeds that go to the auctions go directly into the revenue sharing for East Carolina baseball. So you are helping the program in the future if you participate in the auction. And then if you're in the car and or you don't want to go to tiebreakers gets full, don't subscribe to ESPN Bulgaria. Tune in on 94.3 The Game.
That is correct. You can listen as you drive to the game on 94.3 The Game. Dylan Johnson and Coach O on the call for 94.3. And this is, by the way, the tiebreakers on Smithwick, Bells Fork area, the notable ones, since there are
the original
locations. Yep, the original tiebreakers, well said. All right, final thing here. Johnny Robertson saying, reading off a stat before I ask Philip one more question before break. He says the Pirates have not scored in the first 2 innings in their last 6 games at Campbell. The Pirates have also not scored in the first inning this season. So there's Johnny's stats.
Johnny, I was feeling good about the game. Why do you have to be so damn good at your side gig of being Johnny Stats? Sometimes you could just not say these things.
Way to rain on the parade, Johnny. Yeah. By the way, former ECU pitcher, recruit Mason Smith will be starting for Campbell tonight. Last year he started against ECU. He went 4 innings. He did not allow a hit. And he did finish the season, by the way, with a 5.61 ERA, 61 innings. So they're throwing one of their most experienced starters at ECU. This is another reason why I want to quit this series. Like, why didn't they throw this dude against Cal Poly? They lost.
It's not like they're playing bad opening weekends. I mean, the last 2 years they've played Santa Barbara. So, it's not like they're playing crap teams. I mean, Santa Barbara was like number 22 in the country preseason last year. They're not. It's not like they're like, hey, man, we're rolling out there against Northwestern State the first weekend. Cal Poly's
supposed to be good this year.
Cal Poly's supposed to be good too, yeah. Like they're playing legit teams from a real conference that have actually had postseason success.
All right, what is one thing you want to see tonight? Philip, you go first, and I'll give my take as well.
Left side of the infield looking good.
All right, I want to see some early runs. I want to see Johnny Stat have to come back tomorrow. Johnny Stats and have to just say, I told you guys this stat in order to jinx it for ECU to score some early runs. I want to see early offensive success, jump on Mason Smith, jump on his fastball, maybe an Austin Irby home run, first inning, set the tone. I just want to see some early offensive success in a place that ECU has struggled. Maybe put some pressure on Campbell. We know there'll be a good ECU contingent on hand, and we'll see how things roll from there. But early offense for me, left side of the infield for Phil. If those two things happen and play out ECU's favor, the Pirates should have a good chance to emerge victorious. We'll see how it plays out. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll have our final segment. Got a few more notes to hit on, some news items. ECU making a coaching staff hire off the field. Also, Braxton Trammell injury update from Cliff Godwin yesterday. We'll hit on that to wrap up the show.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your
Remember,
trusted
get the
choice.
podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Final segment here. Final few minutes of the show. Philip Hilton back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We've hit on a little bit of everything today. Let's hit on a few news items before we wrap up shop today. Cliff Godwin was on Monday's show. He confirmed Braxton Trammell is out for the season. Basically looking at a 4-month recovery with his shoulder. As of now, they don't think he needs surgery, but that will knock him out for the whole season. Presumably will medically redshirt, be a redshirt sophomore going into 2027. Obviously, with the draft, he could still go to the draft after next year, eligibility-wise. We'll see how that works out. But either way, he has the extra years if he chooses to use them. You just hate it for Braxton, who, noted was still part of the team leadership meeting after Saturday's game. The coaching staff I think it was Cliff in particular, met with some of the leaders of the team. Braxton was very much in that huddle on, improving body language, that sort of stuff after the game. Clearly kind of a heart-to-heart talk after the first 3 contests. And Braxton will be a part of that all season long and continue to influence other guys on the team in other ways. So from a baseball perspective, Philip, I said, the team depth, I thought when this injury happened, obviously, you'd rather have them. We had our overreaction take on the Bucks on the Pond podcast last night, which is meant to kind of be like overreacting, which is why we call it that. But my initial overreaction from opening weekend was I think ECU is going to miss Braxton Trammell more than we initially thought, just because I feel like that lefty power hitter, and obviously he's a switch hitter, but does damage from the left side. I think we may end up missing that more than we initially thought. And that's based on 3 games, extremely small sample size, but just hate it for Braxton after missing the last half of last season with an injury as well.
Steven, I get what you're saying at the plate. I think the real reason you came to that conclusion is because of the left side of the infield. We know that we trust Braxton on the left side of the infield to play better than the way some of that was handled. And now it's one weekend, again, small sample size overreaction, but do you think, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, that the defense led you to start those gears turning in your head to I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing, but did the defense have something to do with it?
Definitely third base. I mean, we saw enough from him at third base last year where, like, if, we also made the argument Colby Wallace moving to shortstop, taking him off third base hurt you more than him playing shortstop. So, like, at least you would have had a third baseman who was more comfortable there. Nothing against Braden, but he just didn't seem comfortable at third. And so I don't, Braxton can play short. I don't know how well he could play it, but maybe he would have been an option. I think he was more being looked at second and third, but I think you would have felt his presence at third for sure, and along with the bat. So it definitely would have played a role. But I just hate it for him, given everything he's been through the last year and a half, and hopefully he keeps a positive mindset. Final news note before we get out of here. Devontae Love Taylor has been hired as the director of recruiting and player personnel. He will also have the GM title. Now, he will basically be in charge of the recruiting, high school recruiting, transfer recruiting, scouting department. Lance Ware, who was the director of player personnel, he will be moving into the chief of staff role. I think it's listed as GM online right now, but really the GM, who was Luke Mullet, who's no longer with the program, that role is, I don't want to say going away, but it will be less impactful. And you're going to have Devontae Love Taylor moving into the head recruiting role, Lance Ware moving into the chief of staff role, where he will more so handle Blake with a lot of the needs and still be involved with some recruiting as well. So there's your news update on the football staff. We got to get out of here. Philip Pilgrim, appreciate you, man. As always, we'll be back 12 noon on Wednesday. James Giglio will join us. We'll react to Campbell, look ahead to NIU, and more Wednesday at noon. We'll see you then.